Good morning. What's up? This is my man, Bruce. What's happening, Brucey?
Hey, not much. I wanted to just kind of go over a little bit of what the mayor had to say this morning.
No, you can't do it. I'm not going to let you do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But your phone call, you're all set. You're like, here's what I'm going to talk about. Whatever happens if the guy just says no, that ends the phone call. I'm just messing with you. Having some fun this morning, Brucey.
Not a problem. Hey, no, just I wanted to talk a little bit about the commissioner and how he kind of fumbled the ball on this one. And can the rest of the league trust him? I mean, you have a zero tolerance on alcohol and marijuana, but yet you can beat your girlfriend or your wife within an inch of her life, and 4 inches in this case, and and you get a 2-game suspension. I mean, they kind of rectified it yesterday, but up until yesterday, this was kind of like a free pass.
Well, as we all know, and we've brought it up yesterday and today, we all know it is only being dealt with this way now because that video surfaced. We all know that. Right.
And CNN broke it down last night, broke down the video, kind of like in slow motion, step by step. And, they had a medical examiner on there.
Yeah.
If he would have hit her 4 inches higher, he would have hit her in the temple.
And could have killed her, yeah. Absolutely. And she could have hit her head. When she hit her head on the rail there.
When she hit her head on the rail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, and then afterwards, I don't understand this part at all.
Did you see the longer footage, Bruce, before you go on with your point? Did you see the extended footage that's now out? That because the initial footage had parts snipped out for television or whatever, and I guess there's the longer version. I'm looking at it now here where they show it looks like he spits in her face as this is going on, and it just not that it needs anything
kicked her
more.
A couple times trying to get her to move,
and not that it needs anything more to be worse, but it gets worse every time you look at it and every time you look at a longer version. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay, and this is the part that got me, is the part where he was actually still like screaming at her, and he kicked her a couple of times, and like you said, he spit at her, and and then he drug her out.
How about that?
Not once did he get down like on the floor and see if she was all right.
No, he didn't pick her up in his arms. He didn't put her over his shoulder. He dragged her like you were shooting deer and carrying the carcass back to your truck. I'm telling you, man.
Right, and then he tells the guy at the elevator, don't call the cops. I don't want any cops.
That's what I was about to say. Although I don't think that was him that said that. I believe it was one of them that said it to him, and he just nodded his head, but in agreement. I believe that was them that said no cops, that she was drunk.
Okay, well, the way the video is, you can't really tell who says it.
Right. But I mean, regardless, obviously the casino from the get-go was like, hey, no problem, Mr. Rice. We
got your back.
We've got you. That's exactly what that was as far as I saw, and obviously you saw the same thing.
Yeah, and like I said, that the video would have never came out had the casino not closed.
That's the kicker. You're exactly right. Is if that doesn't happen, maybe none of this, I don't say that, comes out eventually. I do believe that this would have surfaced eventually. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure that, that unless that video, had actually came out, nobody in the NFL even cared about seeing it.
Well, I agree with that, but it would have came out for the same reason that it came out now. Places like TMZ, you always, even if it would have been in the off season, it would have. And I'll tell you, you know what? The NFL's actually lucky, I guess, in a way that it came out now. Because imagine if what we just said was true. Imagine if Ray Rice comes back next week, practices and plays all season, ending Citizen, and then that video comes out in the off season, and everybody sees it, and how much worse the NFL would look. You could look worse at this point. But think about that. They're saved by the bell almost that they got this video before, or that it was publicly released before he was reinstated, because that would have just really added to the firestorm of this whole thing.
Okay, now why didn't Ozzy or any of the people at the Ravens want to see it?
I don't know. I'm telling you, the report is that the police had it and Ray Rice's lawyer had a copy of the tape the entire time. So there were multiple places that you could get it from. And I don't understand how the police had this video. And I know John stuck up for the police and the prosecutor yesterday, and he is in diversionary programs and stuff. And obviously, you do want to keep people, not just because they're famous, you do want to keep people off a criminal record when you can. But I just find it hard to believe, knowing some of the things I've seen people charged with, that the police had this video and the prosecutor decided to put it off in a first offenders program just because of for the same reason we're talking about the NFL, public relations. You know what I mean? Like, how could the police right now, they're going to be facing their own firestorm of questions about how could you decide that this was not a chargeable offense as far as going after something, you know? The questions are abound because they did have it. No matter what you say about the NFL, the police did have it. So, you know, I don't know.
Okay, the police had it. Okay, not only that, but, you know, I mean, it was once he hit her, that was assault. Once she banged her head on the rail, that was, you know, another charge. He bargained this all the way down. Yeah, attempted murder, all the way down to anger management.
Anger management.
How does that happen?
I know, my man. I'm with you.
And beat 3 people. I'm in jail,
bro. And all I got to say is,
it don't
everybody
even have to be a spouse or a girlfriend.
Everybody's outraged today, but 3 weeks ago, Rice when he comes into training camp.
They gave him a standing ovation, and his pink jersey that the NFL put out for stop
on the
abuse.
same day that they announced his suspension, his women's jersey is up for sale on the website and stuff, you know. And
exactly,
on,
and in Baltimore, it was one of the biggest sellers.
Completely, you know. I think, and it's not just this, I think there's a lot of cats playing in the NFL that should have their rights to play revoked. Listen, if you drive and you speed enough, I'm talking speeding, I'm not talking about drunk driving. If you get caught speeding 4 or 5 times, they will permanently revoke your right to drive a car for the rest of your life. You'll never be able to drive a car. But, you know, you don't get your right to play football permanently revoked when you carry a small assault force of guns in your apartment and beat the holy hell out of a woman that's 1/3 your size. You don't lose the right to play in the NFL when you walk through airports and tell them that you got bombs on you and stuff like that. You don't lose the right to play football for nothing except, well, obviously, smoking pot is one of the things that can cost you the right to play football. You know, and I'm being facetious. You guys know that I'm not sticking up for Josh Gordon because Josh Gordon's not suspended for smoking pot. He's suspended for continually being stupid and violating the rules. Like I told you, if the NFL says people that eat broccoli cannot play in the NFL, then if you eat broccoli, you can't play in the NFL. That's just all there is to it. It's the rules of the game that you play. You know? But the minute they change those rules, then that's fine. Play by the rules that are in effect. And that's why today will be interesting with that vote that's going down. But I'm 100% with you, and I agree with you. I saw you on Facebook. I agree with your thoughts that, Roger, it's not going to happen. But I'll tell you what, with Goodell stepping down, if one single shred of evidence comes out now or later that he knew or saw that video or had that video given to him and he said, hey, I don't want to see it, he will step down. That will be the end of Roger Goodell if anything like that comes out in the public.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, he should automatically, you know, take it upon himself to step down. I mean, he obviously can't run the league because he doesn't. I mean, how do you suspend somebody for 2 games when you don't have any evidence? I mean, for life.
Forget that. How do you suspend Bruce, how do you suspend somebody before you finish and complete your investigation, period? Just period.
Exactly.
If there's evidence out there that you haven't looked at, how do you finish your investigation? Unless what you're really doing is lifting up the rug and taking the broom and trying to sweep it under the rug. And that's
you're
what
trying
they
to
were
cover
doing.
up. And it seemed like everybody in the league or everybody that was involved in this tried to cover something up.
I mean, everybody's running as fast as they can from him now. All of those same teammates in the locker room who 3 weeks ago talked about what a great man Ray Rice was and how he was, they're proud to stand aside of him. Even his best friends yesterday in the locker room had no choice but to say, man, I can't stick by him now, man.
Video.
I can't stick with this. Absolutely. You have to.
Isn't there a player in San Francisco that beat his girlfriend?
Well, yeah, just over the last 4 or 5 days. That was the case.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
McDonald? I believe it's Ray McDonald is who it was. I'll give you the name in a second.
I believe that's who it is.
Yeah.
Now, shouldn't he be suspended or shouldn't they just cut him?
Well, I don't know about that. They could always do that. But one of the things that they're working on with these suspensions today, one of the things with the changes is that's part of it too, is will the NFL be allowed with domestic violence and DUIs to punish before the courts are done? Basically, as soon as you get caught, the NFL can say, hey, man, you're not playing football, if you get caught. But to me, that walks a fine line because think about the Colin Kaepernick thing over the winter and how for a couple of days his name was out there like he did something wrong. Turned out he didn't do anything wrong at all. He was around the wrong people, and he shouldn't have put himself in that situation. But it was nothing like what the initial story was. So if the NFL is allowed to just, you get arrested on Sunday and they suspend you on Monday, you're walking a fine line with people's, right to be proven innocent there too. So I don't know about that, but yeah, they want to be able to step right in. They don't want to wait for the courts. They want to be able to jump right in with their own consequences.
Well, I guess my question I was asking, does this guy get a 6-game suspension like the new rule, or is he going to be out for a year?
Who?
McDonald.
Oh, well, that depends. That depends, too. And some of it, too, will be if they've got other things in their past. And speaking of, nobody's talked about this, but did you guys see the reports that are out there that there are supposedly other women and claims of abuse in previous relationships with Ray Rice, and there's some other, I don't know, I can't verify any of this.
I did read that this morning, that this is not the first time that charges have been brought against him.
Yes, exactly. So that adds another layer to it on top of that. But the NFL's new policy with that 6 games is that's the bare minimum starting point, but if there's other factors in play or whatever, they can make it longer. And as well, they're also going to hold it against you if there were previous cases. You're now a second-time offender, So I don't know. I don't know.
There wasn't any charges brought against him, but there were complaints filed. And why didn't somebody look into that?
Bruce, I can't tell you because that's way over my pay grade. But I agree with you. Those are all questions that should be asked. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, this is a habitual, abuser, and nobody seems to care until, there's actually a video.
I know. I mean, that's the dark underside here of things that really needs to be exposed and changed. That's the only way you change it. I know people say, NFL's $1 billion business, but I don't care if we're talking about the NFL or if we're talking about a sweatshop where people are working underground for child labor that's underpaid. It takes it being the ugliness being thrown in everybody's face. And sometimes that's what it takes to force change. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's what it takes. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. And there should be consequences. I think some people are obviously responsible for overlooking their job here or for turning a blind eye to things. And I still think somebody needs to sit. I don't who does the big interviews nowadays. Whoever it is, whoever's the guy that sits down with the president at halftime of the Super Bowl, they need to sit down with Roger Goodell in front of a camera and ESPN and 30 million people or whatever watching around the world, and they need to ask him how this investigation was wrapped up without you ever asking to see all the evidence. Because now I want to know how many other investigations you've screwed up or done it half-ass and didn't get all the evidence. How many other things did you turn a blind eye to? And let's not even forget, there's already players pissed off in general because one of your owners ends up getting what a lot of people feel is a slap on the wrist for doing something that is worse than some of the players that are suspended for multiple games. And you know, to a lot of people, an owner doesn't have anything to do with the team. So you're not affecting the on-the-field team at all there like you are when you suspend Josh Gordon, when you suspend Wes Welker, you know, guys like that. So there's a whole lot of stuff swirling. I'll tell you what,